Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining our final Bellwether District Community Meeting of the year. We'll get started in just a minute. If you're just joining us, we'll get started in just a moment. Thank you. Great. Thanks everyone for joining. Hello and welcome to our final Bellwether District Community Meeting of the year. If you're new to our meetings, my name is Mia Fioravanti, Vice President of Corporate Affairs for the Bellwether District. Before we get started, I'll share a quick overview of how we'll conduct Q&A during tonight's meeting. We'll answer all questions following tonight's presentation, but throughout the presentation, if you have a question, please feel free to enter it into the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. If you would like to ask your question live, please raise your virtual hand and my colleague Corey will give you the ability to show your camera and unmute your line. We ask that you limit questions to 1 to 2 per person so we can give everyone equal time and get through as many as possible. If we don't get to your question, we will post responses to both answered and any unanswered questions to our website following the meeting. As a reminder, recordings and presentations from all recent meetings can be found at thebellwetherdistrict.com under the community section. Outside of our meetings, please always feel free to contact us via our web form at www.thebellwetherdistrict.com/contact. We'd also love to hear your recommendations for any topics we should cover in our upcoming 2026 meetings. Our agenda for tonight includes an update from our development team, our environmental remediation team, and an update from me on our recent community and workforce development activities. We always want to provide an overview of how the Bellwether District will benefit our city and region over the next decade as we're redeveloping the site. We anticipate a more than $4 billion total investment in the redevelopment of the site. That investment is expected to generate a significant amount of tax revenue for both the city and the Commonwealth. As you'll hear later tonight, we are continuing to give back to our local community, in particular our neighboring communities in South and Southwest Philly, with more than $2.5 million in contributions to date to both community and workforce organizations. We're also projecting tens of thousands of jobs to be created over the next 10 to 15 years, both direct and permanent and construction jobs. And as a point of comparison, the former site employed a little over 1,000 people, so a lot of job growth there. And importantly, we're making a significant effort to reconnect the site to the neighboring street grid with investment in both on-site and off-site infrastructure. And we're also working to ensure the site is environmentally sustainable. We anticipate the planting of over 10,000 trees. All of our buildings are being built to LEED certifiable standards and will be solar ready. And just by the refinery coming offline, the city's Office of Sustainability reported a 16% reduction in carbon emissions citywide, which is pretty incredible. So with that, I will turn things over to my colleague, Kurt Carter.
Thanks, Mia. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for being on tonight. We did want to reset at the beginning of this presentation. I'll start with myself. I am on the industrial development team here at the Bellwether District. We did want to hop into some of the schedule just to give everybody some reminders of some of the milestones that we've already hit and then some of the milestones that are to come. So we're going to start at the top of the page with demolition. We did wrap that up right around the end of the first quarter back in 2024 for the newcomers to the group. That was quite an effort, and we were very happy to get to that inflection point in the program. The second line you see here is our remediation duration line, and that will be ongoing for the foreseeable future. Next, we get into our industrial milestones, where we were able to start our mass earthwork in Q2 of 2023. We began vertical construction on our first building, which was building 1, that we'll cover a little bit later in depth in Q1 2024. We were able to finish that building substantially complete in about a year. So Q1 25 was that completion. And then building 2, we about to hit substantial completion. And that's going to be a great milestone for that first phase for vertical industrial development. The yellow line, which is next, is our innovation bar. Earthwork started on our innovation campus in Q1 of 2024, and we are excited to start vertical in the very near future in Q1 2026. And lastly, at green bar at the bottom for community engagement, that does represent our quarterly public meetings, and we hit those every quarter. So if you're here tonight, hopefully you continue to participate when you're able. Next slide. So this is just a recap of our overall master plan as it sits today. You can see a lot of different building types in this master plan, but just to orient everybody to what we're looking at here, this is really the footprint of the totality of what HRP Group owns. Everything to the north is considered our innovation campus. That's outlined with that kind of blue and white writing. So that portion of the campus is approximately 250 acres. We do anticipate about 3 to 4 million square feet of final product in that portion of the campus, yielding roughly 8,500 jobs. So that's everything north of Passyunk Avenue. And then as we travel south, we get into the industrial portion of our campus, and that's approximately 750 acres. We are hoping for about 10.5 million square feet of footprint down on that portion of the campus. And as you can see, that's anticipated to be larger buildings, additional parking for everybody that may come to work there or have business in those areas. And that would yield approximately 10,500 jobs. Next slide. So we're going to get into some of the progress that we've made over the last quarter. For folks who either drive by or potentially even fly by, you've probably noticed some very large changes on site, and we are going to try to depict those in a lot of action photos from what's gone on in this last quarter. Next slide. So some of the progress that has been made on the industrial portion of the campus, as a reminder, that is outlined in red over on the right side of this slide. Some of those parcels that are highlighted in blue were our original phase, and then some of the parcels that are non-blue are in a secondary phase. that likely will not be completed at the same time, but still have some activity going on. So phase one is substantially complete at this point, and then subgrade demolition in phase two is also substantially complete. That's really what you're seeing in the photo in the bottom left. So as we go and put our earthwork plan into place, if we encounter any old structures or pipes, things like that, that may be conflicts, that is included in that subgrade demolition scope. And then our next steps is going to be to complete this phase by the end of the year. So we are getting very close. We'll be able to see some of that progress in photos on some of these future slides. Next slide. So I'm going to work kind of clockwise from the top left here, but these photos give a really great representation of some of the progress that we've made on the industrial portion of the campus. At the top left, you are looking at our Lot 11. So one of the major milestones for Lot 11 recently was we had successfully surcharged that pad or proposed building pad. And essentially all that is you are going to place soils to replicate the weight of a building. And that's going to allow any type of differential settlements or compressions to be taken out of that column and allow you to safely build vertical assets on top of it in the future. So the picture that you're looking at in the top left actually shows that pad with the surcharge removed because we were able to place that soil somewhere else on site after direction from a geotechnical engineer. On the top right, you're looking at our development lot 14. This is likely what most folks see if they travel 26th Street heading southbound or northbound. And what you can see here is really a level graded site with some stormwater assets in place on an interim basis. So those will likely change as we look to get tenants on this property, but those are what collect a lot of the stormwater in this interim condition. Moving to the bottom left, this is our development lot 6. The piles that you see in this development lot are actually crushed concrete that was encountered as we were working through our subgrade demolition scope. And that crushed concrete really serves as a great subbase, whether it's mass fills, whether it's pipe backfills, or any other type of granular fill needs that might be needed in the program. And then around this slide out in the bottom right, this is looking north towards the city skyline. It captures really our lots 12 and 13. So you can see in the background on site, that's in our lot 13. We have graded all that, and a lot of that is stabilized. That's why you see that lighter kind of yellowish color, and that helps with a lot of dust mitigation in this interim stage. Next slide. So moving on to some of the infrastructure progress that we've made. On the right, I'm going to start with this exhibit. The red is our phase one on-site improvements. So a lot of these improvements included upgrades and new utilities, new roadways, all really facilitating this first phase of vertical construction for our buildings 1 and 2. So some of the progress that's been made recently is all that on-site roadway construction is substantially complete. A lot of the on-site street lighting is also substantially complete. Then we go back to the exhibit where you can see the blue line for the off-site improvements, and that is a lot of the widening that has gone on 26th Street with some of the additional infrastructure improvements from a utility perspective. So that construction is still ongoing. We did complete relatively large gas relocations that were in that area. Really nothing new. It was just relocations to align with the new alignment of our proposed street grid. And then moving forward, we are looking to finish paving on 26th Street, hopefully before the end of this year, weather dependent. And right before Thanksgiving, we are anticipating delivery of traffic signal equipment, and hopefully that would be installed very shortly after, allowing us to be able to open this new intersection at 26 and Hartramp in the near future. Next slide. So we're back to a couple of photos just to reinforce the talking points from the last slide. At the top left, you can see the widened 26th Street. This is still under a current maintenance and protection of traffic plan for one of the interim phases, but at full build out, this 26th Street intersection at Penrose is going to be 2 left-hand turns, 1 straight lane, and then 2 dedicated right turn lanes as well. So an intersection that today is 3 lanes, we are expanding to 5 lanes. In the top right, you can see some of the ongoing construction that is going to install some utilities, and then also the median that's going to segregate the right-hand turn lanes from the 2 left lanes and the straight that would continue on to the Navy Yard. And the picture all the way at the bottom is very similar to the top right, and really only just catches a little bit more of that work area, showing the widening and the extra lanes that are going in. Next slide. So this is a continuation of some of the infrastructure progress. We're moving a little bit further north here to capture our Hartramp and 26th Street intersection. At the top left, you can see a rendering that we had come up with really back at the end of about 2022. And this has been the goal that we have been pushing towards to create this boulevard entrance into the industrial portion of the campus. The top right, you can see a near current condition with some of the improvements over on the east side of 26th Street being done. The lanes that are going to turn into the facility are also done with the new barrier set. And then obviously the new roads, which is going to be roughly 7 lanes in and out. You'd have 3 in and 4 out, all with dedicated turning maneuvers to be able to allow inbound and outbounds to move efficiently in through the site. And the bottom picture is the same intersection that's in the first 2 pictures. It just has an westerly facing direction. And that kind of shows you some of the in progress view of what's going on site just south of our building 1. Next slide. So this is some of the on-site infrastructure progress. Again, on the top left, we're working with a rendering that was created a couple of years ago to help us with the vision of what we're trying to effectuate on the site. And in the top right, you can see relatively close in terms of geometries and how we had anticipated this site coming together for these first 2 buildings. Down in the middle, you can see that the roadway is in, there's some new infrastructure in. In the background, you are seeing some pond and stormwater assets for our building number 2. And then right between the roadway and the pond asset, you can see the new mixed use path that's on the east side of our future Francis Harper Drive to accommodate pedestrian and cyclist traffic on the site. Next slide. So now we're going to get into some of the vertical efforts that have gone on the site. Again, we're starting with the conceptual rendering on that top left. So you can see a lot of glass. We're trying to break up some of the relief lines and have a lot of vegetation to be able to adorn these sites and make sure that we are making this site as green as possible. Paired with the top left photo, the top right photo is actually what exists on the site today. So, very, very similar. We give our photographer a lot of kudos for even catching some of that cloud cover almost exactly like the rendering over on the top left. So We're very proud that what we set out to accomplish is what we were able to deliver, and we are very excited to be able to start to market these buildings to tenants. So on the bottom left, you can see an interior photo of this building one. This is representative of really what most of these Class A industrial warehouses look like, which are poured concrete floors with structural steel column supports up to roofing structures with high bay lighting. This building is 40-foot clear and is cross-docked and is 326,000 square feet. We also did elect to put in a speculative office, relatively minor footprint, but it's a good way for us to be able to give potential tenants a fast track into their leasehold on a building like this. And then on the bottom right, this is the non-marquee corner. So you can see we still had a lot of glazing, trying to make sure that we maintain that Class A feel all the way through the building. And then on this building, we did elect to put in all the doors on the back side and really make sure that this was as move-in ready as possible for some of these first movers on the site. Next slide. So this is our second building, which is just north of the first building on site. For anyone who travels 26th Street, this is the building that would be just on the right side as soon as you start heading southbound on 26th Street. And again, we start on the top left with our conceptual rendering. And then moving to the right, you can see that the actual building very much mimics that conceptual rendering, right down to the glazing and a lot of the geometries on that marquee corner. And then down on the left, you can see a slightly different interior layout and color scheme. But as it goes for nuts and bolts in this building, very much similar to the first building, with poured concrete slab floor. The steel structures inside are very, very similar. And this is also 40-foot clear, high bay lighting, cross dock building, to be able to facilitate a lot of that Class A industrial potential use. And then as we move down to the bottom right, this is obviously a little bit further away, but you can see that in progress photo before that westerly truck court was fully paved, with those stormwater assets kind of in the foreground adjacent to the new roadways. Next slide. With that, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Amanda to give you the innovation site progress.
Thanks, Kurt. Thanks for joining us, everyone. My name is Amanda Mazey, and I'm the Director of Mixed Use focused on the Innovation Campus. Next slide. So our first slide zooms into the Innovation Campus master plan. Our total site is approximately 250 acres, and we're currently planning 3 to 4 million square feet at full build out. Our campus is located north of Passyunk Ave, just south of University City and Pennovation, with direct access down 34th Street, and it's situated directly between the Schuylkill River and I-76. Next slide. Our next slide also zooms into our phase one. So our phase one plan consists of approximately 40 acres and 500,000 square feet and 3 buildings, A, B, and C. We chose this as our first phase because it's closest to the existing infrastructure and the surrounding neighborhoods, with direct access from I-76 and U-City. The first buildings are designed to accommodate biomanufacturing, processing, and production type facilities, along with tech-oriented uses. These buildings will be CGMP, which stands for Current Good Manufacturing Practices. They'll range from about 150 to 250,000 square feet. Vertical construction is market dependent, but we're currently targeting the first half of 2026 to start. Next slide. So we've spent the majority of last year and this year focusing on progressing our earthwork activities. on parcel A and B of our site. So when I refer to parcel A, that's the 125 acres north of the CSX rail line, which is kind of the white line in between the total campus. And then parcel B, which is just the southern portion of the campus. So on parcel A, surface and subsurface demolition was complete at the end of last year, as well as mass grading. And then this year, we've been spending our time focusing on parcel B. We commenced surface and subsurface demolition in February, and right now it's approximately 90% complete. We do anticipate total completion by the end of this year, as well as mass grading, which we started in June 2025, which will also be complete at the end of the year. Next slide. So this slide shows an overview of the current earthwork activities. So this is looking north, kind of east back towards Center City. It's also shows an overlay of the future roads and first two buildings. You can see buildings A and B kind of in the middle of our two future roads, Jackson Street and Fortin Way. Next slide. And here's just another slightly more recent view of the site, also looking north back towards Center City. So this is showing the removal of our surcharge area for phase one. This is for buildings A and B. And as Kurt had mentioned earlier as well, surcharge is a ground improvement method to prepare a site for the future vertical buildings. Next slide. And this is another image of parcel A looking west. This is showing the stockpiled concrete for the future processing and recycling. This picture is showing approximately 30,000 tons of concrete to date that we've pulled from the site and we've crushed to reuse on the site in the future. Next slide. And then switching back down to parcel B, which is the portion south of the CSX rail line. This image is looking kind of northeast, but mostly east, showing the almost complete earthwork activities. Next slide. And then another slide, just looking northwest, and again, just showing kind of the current state of parcel B, where we've almost completed our subsurface demo and earthwork activities. Next slide. And this slide just kind of gives an overview of the earthwork progress in statistics. So for pipe removals, we've removed approximately 45 miles of underground pipe from parcel A and approximately 41 miles from parcel B. In terms of volumes, the contractor has completed movement of approximately 270,000 cubic yards of soils on A and 325,000 cubic yards of soils on B. In terms of stormwater, we have over 1.7 million gallons of new or in progress construction stormwater capacity currently being constructed on both parcels. And we've recycled over 3,800 gross tons of metal from parcel A and over 6,000 gross tons of metal from parcel B. And then, as I said before, we've crushed approximately 30,000 tons of concrete to reuse on site on B. And I think the total number is just about 170,000 tons of concrete. Next slide. And finally, we want to share some examples of site-wide implementation mitigants that we are employing for dust and odor control on the site. So we have installation of temporary stabilization, including straw, tack, and temp seed over completed mass grading areas. Dust control fabric has been installed on the perimeter fencing. We have perimeter air monitoring that is ongoing with monthly reports being distributed via our website. Water trucks are traveling the site daily to distribute water on haul routes. And we have various odor suppression methods available for use to suppress or minimize odors as needed. As always, our phone line and online contact form to report any on-site activity concerns is available at our website at the link below. And then with that, I'll hand it over to Amy to go through environmental remediation.
Thanks, Amanda. Hey, everyone. I'm Amy Pacone, Senior Remediation Manager on the environmental team. Next slide, please. So when discussing the environmental work at our site, it's important to know that there are two responsible parties. Sunoco, also known as Evergreen, is responsible for contamination from releases that occurred prior to September 2012. That date is significant because that's when they sold the site to PES. Evergreen has their own website where they post their environmental reports, and they also hold their own public meetings to provide updates on their progress. When we, HRP, acquired this site in 2020, we took on the environmental responsibilities of PES. So that's why HRP is responsible for cleaning up releases that occurred after September 2012. We're also responsible for sampling beneath the above ground storage tanks, managing soil during redevelopment, and assessing vapor intrusion in the new buildings, which I will touch on in my slides. Next slide, please. So for above ground storage tanks, or ASTs, I'm sure many of you remember the numerous tanks that used to be on this site. There were over 100 tanks that we needed to sample under and around after demolition. So we divided them into 9 tank groups for sampling and reporting purposes. So far, we've achieved regulatory closure for 6 of those tank groups, which you can see shaded in gray on my slide. For the other 3, we've completed all of our sampling, and we're currently working on reporting for tank group 1, which is that red group in the northern portion of the site. And for tank group 6 and 7, the yellow and orange groups in the southern portion of the site, we just submitted a combined report for those 2 groups this past Friday. Our reports and regulatory correspondence with the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, or PADEP, are available on our website under Community, Environmental, and then Tank Closure. Next slide, please. So this figure shows our distinct post-2012 release areas that have been entered into the Act 2 program, which is a cleanup program under PADEP. We, HRP, do not have one site-wide case under Act 2. We are responsible for these 12 discrete release areas. Reports and regulatory correspondence are available on our website under Community, Environmental, and Remediation. 5 of the 12 areas have achieved regulatory closure, which you can see by that light gray shading, and 7 of the 12 areas are open and shown in white. And if you can go to the next slide, please. This table shows a little more detail for those 7 open Act 2 cases that we're responsible for. In the interest of time, I won't go through each one, but you can see that we are at the reporting stage for 5 of the areas, and we are at the data gathering and evaluation stage for the other 2 areas. Next slide, please. For soil movement, we have a soil management plan, which was approved by PADEP in 2020 and is available on our website under Community, Environmental, and Soil Management. That document outlines our plan to collect 1 sample per 2,000 cubic yards of soil prior to soil movement, categorize that given cell based on analytical data, and then handle that soil appropriately during earthwork. The majority of that soil sampling is done, and the data are summarized in soil management plan addenda, which are available on our website. We also have an environmental consulting company who's out here every day overseeing the earthwork to make sure that the cells are placed in accordance with our soil management plan. As we complete the soil movement on a given lot, we will collect additional soil samples of the new surface we've created, as well as in any landscaped or unpaved areas. We will then prepare a completion report for each lot, which will include that data. We're currently working on the first of those lot-specific reports for Building 1 that Kurt was mentioning, and we will put that on our website when it's available, and we will discuss further in a forthcoming quarterly public meeting. Next slide, please. So another topic that we'll be discussing more in these upcoming meetings now that we have buildings constructed is vapor intrusion. If you're not familiar, vapor intrusion is when vapors from, for example, volatile organic compounds in groundwater contamination make their way through the soil and into buildings, which we don't want to happen. So one option is for a building to be constructed with a vapor barrier to prevent vapors from entering the building. And that kind of simplified example is shown on the right on this figure. Another option shown on the left is a vapor intrusion mitigation system, which is when you essentially create a preferential pathway under the building and then funnel those vapors out of the building passively, or you can put a fan at the top and draw those vapors out. We installed a mitigation system in our first building, and we are continuing to collect data related to that system. Once we're done, we will prepare a report specific to that building, and that will also be available on our website, and we will share more about that report in a forthcoming quarterly public meeting. Next slide, please. Finally, I'll elaborate a little more on the air monitoring that Amanda mentioned. We're currently monitoring for dust and total volatile organic compounds. We monitor continuously and receive alerts when concentrations are elevated so we can take action in real time. We started this monitoring when earthwork began in each portion of the site. So that was May 2023 in the industrial campus, which are those blue dots, and April 2024 in the innovation campus, which are the green dots. Our air monitoring plan and our monthly reports summarizing the data are available on our website under Community Environmental Air Monitoring. Also, we collect one weekly benzene sample, which is that red dot, as part of the Thrive Air Community Air Monitoring Project. We started sampling at that red dot in February 2024. We send the weekly analytical reports to our contacts at Thrive Air, and they maintain the website displaying the data from this red dot, as well as other locations in the community. If you're interested, I encourage you to check out their website, which is thriveairphilly.com. And now I'll hand it back to Mia.
Hey, thank you, Amy. Next slide. Okay. Last, I will end tonight's presentation by sharing a community and workforce update. Next slide. First, we want to thank everyone who attended our recent community site tours. It was great to meet many of you face to face and show you the incredible progress that's been made on site. Next slide. So since our last meeting, we again sponsored and participated in an event called Build My Future. This event is run in collaboration with the Philadelphia School District and the General Building Contractors Association, or GBCA. And the goal is to expose middle and high school students to career opportunities in the construction trades. HRP and one of our general contractor teams, Clayco and Perryman Construction, brought this event to Philly last year, and we were proud to continue our support under GBCA's leadership this year. Excitingly, we had over 800 students participate, which is great. Next slide. As we've mentioned in some of our recent meetings this year, we partnered with the Philadelphia School District and the Council and Council President Johnson's office to spearhead a new driver education pilot for district students. A lack of driver's license has been identified as a major barrier for students looking to enter into the trades or similar fields. And so this pilot program sponsored driver education classes for students enrolled in construction and automotive focused CTE programs. So we were excited to formally kick off the program with a presentation before City Council in September. And we're even more excited to see the program grow and reach even more students in the future. Next slide. So in October, our team participated in the City of Philadelphia's Microeconomic Development, or MED Week, which is a week-long series of events focused on providing connections and resources to minority-owned firms. So Amelia Chazé Alcivar, our EVP of Corporate Affairs, participated in a panel titled Creating Access, the Bridge to Advancing Partnership Opportunities for Minority Enterprises. And that same month, our team also participated in a workforce development roundtable convened by the Council President's Office, which included employers throughout the city and workforce development organizations, all brought together to discuss how to best prepare both young people and adults for employment opportunities. Next slide. And finally, this Thursday, we will again partner with the Grays Ferry Salvation Army to serve a Thanksgiving-style meal to local residents. This event will also include take-home Thanksgiving meal kits for attendees and other winter gear giveaways. To sign up, you can call the Salvation Army at 215-465-0300 or use the QR code on the flyer. And as we do every year, we're also partnering with organizations throughout South and Southwest Philly over the coming weeks to provide holiday meals and winter items. And if you need help locating an event in your community, please contact us at thebellwetherdistrict.com/contact, and we'll get you connected with a local event. So with that, here's my contact information for anyone who'd like to reach out. And we can take down the slide deck and open it up for Q&A. Okay, our first question. A recent press report indicated that you are exploring possibilities for an AI data center, along with a gas-fired power plant to support electricity for that data center. Can you confirm and elaborate? Amelia, I'm going to call on you for this one.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Great to be here with all of you. Thank you for joining our last meeting. I know things get busy this holiday time of year. In particular, really thrilled to see so many of our community advisory panel members. I can see all your names. I look forward to seeing many of you in person on Thursday. So kind of two issues in this question. I'm going to address them both. So just give me a little bit of time. Kind of deals with the question of prospective tenants of the Bellwether District, and then also the question of power and power generation. So I'm going to take the tenant portion first, and obviously they relate, but let me just kind of talk through this for a second. So on tenants. I want to emphasize that no official announcements have been made at this time. So I cannot confirm any media reports. I cannot deny them either. But I do want to, let everyone know, and some folks who are kind of from the industry might know this, but others may not, that companies who are looking at locating at a site often approach contractors and others in the market, even if they're still evaluating multiple sites. So I would just generally preach caution if you're reading anything in the press that is not confirmed by us on the record or by the company on the record. That said, I do want to, echo what other colleagues have said. We've had a tremendous amount of interest in the Bellwether District since we began our marketing efforts in earnest, which really started earlier this year. Once we had the speculative buildings going up and the full, refinery demolition process, deconstruction process was completed. And we've really seen interest from a broad diversity of potential users, most of which would be establishing a presence in Pennsylvania and certainly in Philadelphia for the first time, which is exciting for us to, see the realization of our business plan, which was really attracting companies that did not currently have a presence in Philadelphia and even in Pennsylvania to the Bellwether District to really be additive versus just, moving around. I will, share with this group that we are in late stage negotiations with several prospective tenants. We expect to have good news to share either later this year, which I know we're kind of running out of time there, or in Q1 of next year. And, in response to the specific question about data centers, our vision for the Bellwether District has always been and remains just attracting a diverse mix of industrial, logistics, and innovation users. And like I said earlier, I can't comment on any specific potential tenant. I can confirm we are in active conversations with companies across these industry types, but we do see this campus as attracting a diverse mix of users. Just shifting to the power question, I think anyone who's probably been reading the news understands that access to reliable power is an important priority for any commercial development. We're certainly seeing companies from across the spectrum of user types, not just your AI or technology users that require significant power. Because of the increasing amount of digitization, automation, of operations, even in some more traditional industrial facilities. We're working very closely with PECO, which for those of you who may not be familiar, is the electric utility provider for Philadelphia and the surrounding region. So we're working closely with PECO to ensure that we have the infrastructure in place to receive the power load they are able to supply. And they are a public utility, so a lot of their information is publicly available. We do plan to pursue on-site power generation through solar power. As Mia mentioned, and I think Kurt mentioned as well earlier, we are installing solar-ready rooftops on all of our buildings. Our conservative estimate, which meaning the low-end estimate, is that 6 million square feet of rooftop space across the site. Once fully built out, we'll be able to accommodate solar panels. And yes, the 2 buildings we have built to date are solar ready. That means we build those buildings with with a special grade of steel that's, able to accommodate the additional weight of the panels, which is a, upfront cost to us, but we believe it's going to bear dividends in enabling that solar array to go on the rooftops. So that is really the area that we are currently pursuing in terms of on-site power generation, which is through solar power. We're definitely aware of, we are following discussions around potential alternate forms of generation, both across the Commonwealth and in the region. For like one example I'll give is that we were a participant in the Mach 2 hydrogen hub, if anyone was familiar with that process. Unfortunately, the hydrogen hub program lost federal funding with the change in administration. So that's no longer an active process. However, we do have some history with the use of hydrogen as a fuel source, and so we continue to monitor availability and developments in that space. At this time, we do not have plans to build a traditional power plant on the site. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Mia for the next question.
Great, thank you, Amelia. Next question, since the mass earthwork is almost done for phase 1, will you perform post-earthwork soil testing to confirm what the final contamination levels are following all of the soil movement? Will those test results be released to the public? I'm going to go with.
Hi. Yes, I saw that question come in before I presented, so maybe I answered it during my presentation, but in case I didn't, just to reiterate, yes, we are doing additional sampling after the earthwork is completed on each individual lot. And that information will be included in a report per lot, and that will be available on our website. None are completed yet, but they are forthcoming, and we will talk about them in more detail in future report meetings, excuse me.
Great, thank you, Amy. I see a couple questions about tenants or prospective tenants. I think Amelia answered those questions adequately, so I'm going to skip those. We have one about, would you consider a bridge, perhaps for pedestrians and bikes, over the railroad tracks in the innovation area? Amanda, see you coming off camera.
Sure, thanks, Mia. So this is a big focus on the Innovation Campus. We're very focused on multimodal connections, both into and throughout the site. We are planning for sidewalks and dedicated grade-separated two-way bike lanes throughout parcel A and B. And these bike lanes will connect, and sidewalks will connect into the broader network. There's actually currently actually three underpasses on site that go under the CSX rail line that connect parcel A and B. So we plan to utilize at least two of those to make sure that we have that connection throughout the site. While we're primarily focused on parcel A and phase 1 as the first phase of development, this is something that we're going to continue to explore and make sure that we provide bike and pedestrian campus connections between the two campuses. Thanks, Mia.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to go to, will Hilco consider, I'm sorry, and also just a clarification, we're no longer Hilco. We recently spun out from our parent company. We're now HRP Group. So will HRP Group consider increasing the amount of trees, vegetation planned on site? I'm going to turn this one over to Kurt to answer.
Hey, thanks, Mia. And I think the 10,000 trees is really that's a high level estimate. So I think that's in line with a lot of regulations and things of that nature. We do anticipate that at full build out, there will be plantings that would exceed that. And the unfortunate part is, without knowing exactly where buildings are going to go and what the tenant mixes may be, it's hard to commit to those this early in the program. But what we are committed to is getting as many plantings in on these sites as possible while preserving that tenant function on the site. So we are looking forward to seeing what that final mix is going to be.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. I believe that is all of the questions that have come in. I'm sorry, one more. If the ground that needs to be remediated is the responsibility of Sunoco Evergreen and it has not been remediated, will you still build on top of it? Amy, can I kick that one over to you?
Sure. Yeah. So we actually work in close coordination with Evergreen. And so I think maybe we're using the term remediate too loosely. So they have some remediation systems that we have developed around and planned around, such as a groundwater treatment system on 26th Street. So the soil itself does not necessarily need an active remediation. And so any soil contamination has been accounted for when we are doing our soil management plan sampling. And so contaminated soil is then covered with either parking lots or buildings. So it's addressed in that manner by the work we're doing.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, we're going to hold for a few more questions. All right. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Again, if we have questions that are additional to the ones that were posted tonight, please contact us via our website and we'll be happy to include them to the Q&A for tonight's meeting. Thank you for joining us and we look forward to seeing you in 2026.